I call this the rice and the cougar. Our mother had told us kids that even though we were poor, the four Chinese were worse off. They had no work for a week after the cannery was already canning fish. As young boys 11 or 12, I and my younger brother would use a hook and line to fish for flounders in the slough beside Sunnyside Cannery. These we brought to the Chinese cannery workers who lived in a separate bunkhouse from the other workers. The white people, who were the foreman up to manager, lived in homes across the track. The single Indians had a large bunkhouse, and a few Chinese had a smaller shed for a bunkhouse. We visited them and saw how sad their conditions were. After this, we began bringing our flounders to them. They gave us a piece of cake once in a while. When they found out that we liked rice, they told us where to go get in North Pacific Cannery to buy good quality long grain rice cheap. China sent rice in to keep their people alive no matter what racism they had to endure. Their boats unloaded onto smaller boats about 20 miles off the coast, and they brought the life-saving rice in to be distributed among the people and pay them so little, and still they flourished. They were supposed to give up and go back to China. Mom would give us $2 and we would go walk the railroad track a mile or so north to North Pacific and buy 100 pounds of excellent rice. The large sack had to be carried back to Sunnyside. Mom said, "Do not drop the rice." He didn't want the creosote from the railroad ties to smell up the rice. We boys took turns carrying the 100-pound sack of rice. On this day it was my turn to pack, so my older brother and Uncle Clifford set it on my back and I staggered down the tracks. I imagined myself an ant carrying an egg. This was about halfway from North Pacific. Suddenly a blood-curdling scream was heard by us, like a woman being killed. Then my brother saw 2 cougar kittens being chased up a dry tree by the mother cougar about 200 feet from the tracks. She dropped back to the ground and let out another loud howling scream. My Uncle Clifford said, "I'll guard you." He ran across a 20-foot ditch towards the cougar. I kept staggering along the ties of the tracks under the weight of the rice. My 2 brothers began running ahead of me. I felt a bit vulnerable, to say the least. Actually scared shitless, but I've learned the word vulnerable since. All of a sudden, the cougar lunged out of the bush only about 30 feet from Uncle Clifford. It let out another loud screaming howl. Uncle Clifford didn't even turn around, but jumped backwards right across the 20-foot ditch. He turned in midair, and his legs were running before he landed in the middle of the tracks. He passed me like I was standing still. This was probably because I was in mid-stagger and stumbling from tie to tie. You have to understand that 100 pounds of rice weighed more than I did by about 15 pounds. He caught up to my brother before his protection mode kicked in. He said to Marv and Vince, "We better go help him or the cat will be eating rice and chicken for supper." I was wondering why they were all laughing as they ran back, grabbing handfuls of crushed rock from between the ties. They were throwing the sharp gravel at the cougar as they passed me. She had to be only a couple of jumps behind me when they turned it and went slinking the other way back to its kittens. They came back and grabbed the rice and lifted it onto my brother's back. My legs were like wet spaghetti. I sat down on the rail. "I didn't drop it," I hollered triumphantly. "Even if we're laughing at you, you did good," my younger brother said. I knew he stayed back to guard me in case the cougar came back. I saw his eyes searching the bush, but he was brave. "Yeah," I said, "although Mom will probably give me hell for not saving myself." By the time we made it home, with my little brother holding me up, Mom had already begun sharing the rice with the neighbors. They had brought over their pots, and Mom was filling them with the valuable rice. Some people left a dime, others left a quarter, most didn't leave anything. But that didn't matter. Gitxsan people took care of each other. And besides that, Mom was a high chief in Kitwangar.